Hello everyone, this is my first ever video. I just wanted to show you my current video game collection. It's nothing special and it only takes up a certain wall in my house. I've got 2 bookcases and the rest piled on top, so it's far from ideal. I would love a proper games room one day, but you know, money. So I just wanted to go through and show you what I've currently got in my collection. So first of all, on the left I've got a nice Pikachu plushie that my best friend bought me for Christmas, and some Blu-rays and DVDs that I will make my way through at some point. Film used to be my first love back in the day when I was a kid. As much as I loved video games, film was always number one for me. So I like to have a little bit left of that. I've actually got a whole 600 DVD/VHS tape wall behind me that I'll save for another video. Video games are now my number one, so they've sort of taken over film, but like I said, I still love my film. So I'm going to show you my PS3 games. So I've sort of got some, I suppose, mid-range titles that are a bit more expensive than the others, and then I've got some cheap titles that sort of everyone should have in their collection. I don't really collect based on value, but if the odd game is expensive and I really fancy it, then I will pick it up. So I'll just show you my PS3 games. Okay. And then I've got my PlayStation 2 games. So I have got a couple of sort of ridiculous games in there that are priced quite highly. For example, Car Wash Tycoon. I recently picked that up from a games fair and it was £20. And I can't believe that, considering the game is so simple and it wasn't really a heavy hitter, quite obscure. So I'll just go through. My PlayStation 2 games are probably my biggest game collection out of every system I've got, simply because PlayStation 2 was my main system growing up. I actually grew up with the PlayStation 1, Amiga 500 and Game Boy Color, but the PlayStation 2 was where I sort of really got into gaming. So I've got a couple of nice steelbooks there, especially that Scarface, The World Is Yours one, which I highly recommend. It's probably one of my favourite PS2 games ever, and in some ways I think it did a much better job than the Grand Theft Auto games of implementing certain gameplay mechanics like dismemberment of limbs. That was super cool. So this is the rest of my PS2 collection. And then I can move on to my most expensive PS3 games. So I got Splatterhouse from CEX for 40 quid recently, and it did have a hefty price tag, but I sort of liked the concept and I knew about the original Splatterhouse games, so I thought I'd pick it up. I've got Yakuza Dead Souls, which I picked up for about 12 quid. About 4 years ago, and now it's worth about 55, which is crazy. I've got a nice copy of Saints Row 2 with a slipcover, and I actually originally played Saints Row 2 and completed it on the Xbox 360, and it was probably one of my favourite games of that time period. And I've also got a nice steelbook of Soul Calibur 4. Before I show the rest of my PS4 games, I've also got my PS2 games here, and I've got a very nice Spyro the Dragon mug, which I got from collecting tickets in an arcade, which is obviously a very sad but fun pastime, and that was probably the best gift I've ever won in sort of one of those ticket collection activities in arcades. So that's my very humble PS1 collection. Some of these games I have had for about 25 years. So I've sort of expanded a little bit. One thing I am gutted about is my Grand Theft Auto collection. I've sort of lost the cardboard slipcover that I used to have because I think I might have ripped it, and I thought I'll just chuck it in the bin, as you do when you're about 8 years old. So now I regret having slightly less value on that because I don't have the slipcover. Maybe one day I'll pick up a version with the slipcover and I'll sell this one, but overall this is in pretty good condition. This is my very, very, very humble Nintendo Switch collection. They're pretty good games, all three of them. I would recommend them. Astral Chain, I think, is a great action game. And the other two, I've actually still got a Grow Song of the Evertree. It's still sealed, so I haven't actually opened that yet. But from the looks of it, it looks like a good game. I do have a few more digital copies of Nintendo Switch games. But obviously Nintendo games hold their price, so it's a very slow process expanding upon that. I've got my PS4 games and PS5 games here, so I like to think I've got a good mix. I haven't played every game in this collection. I have tested them to make sure that they work, and they all seem like interesting premises from the intros, but I have played some of them more than others. And here is my small 3DS and DS collection. Again, Nintendo DS was another console I had sort of around / slightly after the PS2 era, so it was another prominent console. I've sold some games back in the day that I highly regret now because they're 10 times more expensive than they were back then. I recently picked up Grand Theft Auto Chinatown Wars again, as you can see, and I think I sold this for about £10 several years ago, and it's now about 20. So it cost me an extra £10 to re-add it to my collection, so I sort of regret not keeping hold of it. These plushies I got from a car boot sale for about £5. I think they're official Nintendo, and then obviously I've got Jigglypuff and Cyndaquil, and I've got a Snorlax. Oh, there we go. So the Jigglypuff and the Snorlax were actually knitted by someone at the car boot, and I thought they were fantastic, so just picked those up. I got that silver Bulbasaur from Game, as they were doing a sale and they were selling them all for like £5, so I picked it up. The Spider-Man, I got that from a grabby machine in an arcade, and you know how unlikely it is to win something out of those machines, but I just happened to get lucky on the day, and because he had a nice round head, I think the claw picked him up quite easily, which was good. I've also got a Meowth and a Pikachu. I've also got a Professor Snape framed artwork here, which I picked up from a craft fair of a Lego Snape. Growing up, Alan Rickman was my favourite actor, and he's had such a profound impact on my entire life that I could not pass this little guy up. So he's pretty cool. And at the back here, I've also got an Alice Cooper comic book, which I got from a Comic-Con, and 2 Alice Cooper vinyls, because Alice Cooper is one of my favourite artists. So I was very happy to add those to the collection. Now I've got the end of my PS2 collection here, and my very humble original Xbox collection. So I did play some of the original Xbox back in the day on friends' consoles, but I only started collecting myself when I got a dongle for my Xbox 360 so I could connect to Wi-Fi, and then I decided to download the updates for the older games and play them. So I'm very happy with that small collection. And then I've got my Xbox 360 collection, which again is another prominent collection that I've built up over the years. Don't think it's quite as big as my PlayStation 2 collection, but it's still pretty substantial. And then I've got my small Nintendo GameCube collection. I've got this bit and this bit. Again, Nintendo is so expensive, so I have to be choosy sort of what I can pick up. I'm very much looking forward to playing Pokemon Colosseum, which I own on the previous shelf. I've heard great things about that. And then I've got my Nintendo Wii collection, which again is not as substantial as some of my others. And obviously the Wii's great because as far as Nintendo goes, and like the DS, it's got some cheap shovelware titles that are perhaps a bit overlooked, and some of them are super decent. I'm sort of into extreme sports and anything sort of quirky or different, perhaps a bit overlooked, so I'm always keen to pick up those games. And I just wanted to give a quick shout out to the Retro Ghetto, who sort of gave me the confidence to post this video. I watch his stuff, it's absolutely fantastic. I love his vlogs, so you should check him out if you haven't already. And yeah, if you've got any questions about my collection, leave it in the comments, and thank you for watching.